Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is take care of my tools. I got a little tranny fluid in here. I'm just going to put a little oil inside. And I'm not going to bore you with it, but I'm going to do the same thing with this air ratchet. But I want to make sure these things are oiled up so they last and perform better. Let's see if you can see that. Alright, so let's get this water pump out of here. There we go. Now, whenever you remove a part, I recommend you take the bolts and lay them out in a certain way and put them back in the hole that they came from on the part or either in the engine. So whether you put it back in the part here or back in the part here, make sure you take all your bolts so you remember where they go. You don't get them mixed up. I'm going to set this water pump aside. I don't need this water pump, but the bolts are in the holes. So if I was to go back and reinstall it, I don't got any mix-ups. I know where my bolts are at. You can save yourself a lot of time by trying to not just take all your bolts and throw them in one box and think you're going to remember where they go afterwards. Alright, so the engine mounts are a two-piece deal basically. You got this through bolt right here that holds the plate. This mounting plate right here is what attaches to your frame. This is what goes to the frame. You got the bolt holes right here that goes to your frame. And then you pull this bolt right here and it separates from that plate. You see how that's kind of independently acting? And then after you pull this bolt, you got the bolts that go through right here. Okay, let's pop out. Put your bolt back in your dang hole, like we always do. Next, there's 3 bolts in here. 3 bolts in here. Like that. Just like that. Alright everybody, I had to take a nap, but I'm back. I'm going to take this tap. I'm going to run this tap through the bolt holes for the headers and for where the fuel pump goes on. I always like to keep my bolt holes nice, freshen up the threads. I don't want to run it in there too far. You might crack your tap or break it off inside the hole, and then you got a whole another problem to deal with. This is not fun. If you've ever broke a bolt off in a hole or something like that, it can be a real pain in the butt. You can feel it's a little dirty in there. There's a little resistance. It's always good to do all your holes. Tap them. Get a bottom tap and tap those holes out. I don't have a bottom tap right now. I just grabbed the first one that was the right thread count because I got a drawer full of taps and I'm not feeling that great, but just giving these a little freshen up right now. This is fine for now. Not too bad. A little bit of junk coming out of there. Alright, so now let's take a look at this fuel pump. I got a new fuel pump here, and I'm going to show you how to install this one. You see this little lever right here. Alright, so here's the fuel pump. This is the lever that pumps it. There's a piston that runs off of the cam and drives this up and down, up and down, up and down, and that's what pumps the fuel. So I'm gonna show you how to install this, because if you're not aware that piston is there, you're gonna be fighting it. So let me show you what's up. Okay, so this is where the fuel pump attaches at the front of the block on the passenger side. You see that piston inside that hole? This thing right here, it slides up. When you're working on this in the vehicle, it's harder to do because a lot of time that piston's going to want to slide down. Right now I got it turned on the engine turned on its side kind of, so it's going to stay in place pretty good. But one way you can make things a little easier for yourself if you're working on it inside the vehicle is take some wheel bearing grease or a little assembly lube and put it on the top of that piston before you slide it up, because that's going to make it tacky and sticky, and that'll help it when you slide it up in there. It's not going to want to fall back out every time you're trying to get that lever. So a lot of times when you're working on this in the car, you're going to want to use a screwdriver or your pocket knife to push that piston up and try to get under it here. This is hard to do with the camera in my hand. Sometimes you gotta just pinch it with your finger or get some needle nose pliers. So take your needle nose pliers, grab that piston and see how it's pushing inside now? See how I pushed it up? See how there's a gap right there now? Let me show you again. I'm gonna pull it down. See? This goes up and down on the cam, and that's what drives the fuel pump. So you want that piston all the way up. And what I want to do is get this lever. That lever goes underneath that piston and then bolt it in. Alright, it's time to find top dead center on this engine. I'm going to have my boy Daniel here. My buddy's going to help me out. He's going to be rotating the engine for me. And I'm going to do what I do just like with Jessica. I love you, Jessica.